Infographic drawings. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. If there are no questions about the infographic drawing, one of the things that I would just draw your attention to in Google Classroom, if you haven't completed it yet, is that in the infographic number 29 assignment, there is a folder there that says digital citizenship, what is it? Exemplar image files. And in there are a number of different looks and different kinds of digital citizenship infographics in there. If you wanted, if you're like, man, I don't know how to lay this out, take a look in there. And then I also threw a kind of a cute one in there about tattoos. So if you're a person with tattoos, you might want to look at that one. It's kind of interesting. Okay. They all done through Google Drawings. All of these exemplars, I think almost all of them were done in Google Drawing. It doesn't matter if they were or weren't. I mean, you just emulate or kind of copy that layout if you find one in there that you like, right? And again, if you don't find one in this folder that you like, just go into your search engine and just type in digital citizenship infographics, and then do an image search for those, and I'm sure there'll be loads of them out there. Okay, all right, okay. Other questions or things on your mind? Yeah, no. So okay, so on my list here is infographic drawing. Okay, and I put a question mark beside that, and because what you just said, Tessa, is let's just talk about this a little bit. Okay, so let's start the process. I realize that a couple of you have already handed it in, and that's okay. Just bear with us, and of course, if there's anything that I say and you're like, oh man, I didn't do that on mine, you can always unsubmit and resubmit. Okay, but let's then walk through this. I just want to make sure I put it in the right folder. All right, so I've already done a couple kind of demo ones with the other two classes. Let's start one for us. Okay, so let's again, like I was showing Oksana, let's go to the new button in your Google Drive, scooch down to more, and then slide on over to Google Drawings. Okay, now all of the skills and all of the things that you learned in Google Slides, basically identical. Okay, now each one, of course, they're different apps, so they have a little bit of nuances or a little bit different, but basically the same pretty much skills. So I'll open up a brand new Google Drawing, and let's just review a couple of things. Actually, before we review, let's do three things that we need to do. One is let's name it. So it's a digital citizenship infographic. That's exactly what I'm going to call it. Digital citizenship infographic. And I'm just going to add in section D here. You don't need to do that. Okay. And so now I've saved it. I'm just going to start as well for my own purposes. Okay. And then we're going to slide on over after we've named it. We're going to slide on over to share and make sure that we share it so that anybody with the link can be a viewer. And I think mine is set to editor. Weird. Okay, viewer. Okay, and again, we want to do that. Remember, we want to do that because if we add this to our ePortfolio or we share it with somebody, we don't give them those privileges, they're not going to be able to see it. Okay, and then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to go to File and go to Page Setup. And now you can decide whether you want, it's totally up to you whether you want it in portrait or landscape. Doesn't matter to me. I think probably in portrait is probably a better bet. But feel free to, it doesn't matter to me. You have pretty much total poetic license on this. Okay. So let's go here to the drop-down menu and Page Setup and go custom. Okay. And so if you want it to be portrait, type in 11 by 17. If you want it to be landscape, then just switch those numbers around. 17 by 11, and that will give you a landscape one. I'm going to go with, in mine, I'm going to go with 11 by 17 so that it's in portrait. Okay. and that gives us a long skinny one. Okay, and it doesn't matter to me, like I said, which way you go on that one. Okay, now you can see in this demo, my canvas is like that. Here is the one that I started, but then I finished on my own with one of the other classes. So I followed most rules. What is the one thing on this infographic that's missing? Yes, exactly. I didn't put any pictures in there. Okay. If I was marking myself, maybe I would lose a few marks for that. But just the way I ended up laying it out, and I really wanted to use these numbers, these colorful numbers, because then and I'll just make this a little bit bigger. Because then the colorful numbers, I stole the colors for the actual boxes from these numbers, right? And so then what I did was I'll just click on here. I did a bunch of custom colors up here. Okay, and as you look at that, those are all complementary colors. They all go nicely together. Okay, so yes, so the thing that's missing on this one are images. So I would encourage you to add images, but also, again, be mindful of your audience, right? Is this for grade ones? Then that's different than if this is for my grade 11 digital arts class or something like that, right? So you got to think about who your end audience is on this assignment. Okay, so in here, I'm going long and skinny on the portrait. Okay, quick question. The checkerboard area, what is that called again? Somebody remind me what that's called. Oh, nobody can remember? What a great test question. It's called the canvas. Okay, so everything that you do needs to be inside the border lines on your canvas. If anything is touching or over or off the canvas, if and when you went to print this, it would not print. It would be cut off. Okay. No, you don't have to, Oksana. You don't have to tell me what grade it is. I mean, I'll know hopefully by looking at it. And if, of course, if I have any questions, I can just ask, but not necessary. Okay. So again, on our canvas, don't forget, if you right-click your canvas, you can also change the color of the background. And you can also, if you don't want a solid color, you can go with a gradient. Okay, if you want to do that. Like I said, I'm giving you complete, total poetic license on this to do whatever you want to do. Okay, now, really, there's only a few things we can do. I mean, one of the first things, I'm going to make mine just a little bit bigger again. I'll make it 100%. There we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a title. So I can either do that by adding a text box, right? Or I can do it by inserting word art. Whichever way you want to go on that, it's up to you. On mine here, I did a text box, and I just used each letter I colored based on my custom colors. Okay, so I'll do a text box again. Actually, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm just going to borrow those letters. Okay, and I'm just going to paste them in there, maybe like so. There we go. And so I'm just going to make sure that I get those just a little bit smaller. There we go. And so when you are doing a title, whatever font and whatever size that you use, let's try to fill up from left to right as much as you can. Okay. And then once you have text in there, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go to your alignment tools right here. And I'd like you to make sure that it's centered left to right or horizontally, and that is centered top to bottom vertically. So that means between the two blue lines. And then I can make sure that, so here's my rule about text boxes. Text boxes should not be any larger than what's inside them, right? And I see always people having text boxes that are gigantic. And if that's the only thing on your page, that's not a big deal. But where that becomes an issue is if you have lots of images or lots of things on your actual page. Okay, so make sure that you kind of maximize the space up here, but at the same time, making sure the text box is an appropriate size. Now, there's a couple other things I can do on this text box. One of them is I can just use, here, I just want to move it, be able to drag it side to side. Make sure that it's centered, right? So I can move my text box by clicking and holding and dragging on it. And then I get that little red line down the middle. So that means that based on the size of my text box, it is now centered on that page. Okay. Other thing that I can do with any object on the canvas, and your text box is considered an object, is I can, remember I said it can't hang over, but your blue lines for your object can. It's just you can't have the text hanging over like that, because then the tops of all my letters will get cut off if I print it. So as long as all of the letters are inside the border line, I'm okay. And if the blue line hangs over a little bit, that's okay. And that's one way that you can kind of just use your arrow keys to move things around a little bit, just to adjust, kind of fine tune them. Okay. Now, remember, basically, we have three basic rules here. We want to guide our viewer from left to right, or in some type of a zigzag or S pattern. We want to use numbers, colors, and images, right? So the next thing to decide, and here I just chose a text box, but the next thing to decide is how you're, how are you going to put the text? So I don't know. To me, I think the most logical way is just to draw in the text box. Okay. And then if we go with our nine main headings, I could put those in here and make those, like I've made mine 30-point font. So don't be afraid to remember, this is a big piece of paper. So don't be afraid to use a 30-point font, especially for titles. And then whatever it is after the title that you want to add, and again, how much you add or how complicated you make it here is again dependent on the age of the people that you're teaching. And of course, you can use whatever fonts you want. But again, if you have little critters, don't get your fonts too fancy, or they won't understand what's going on. Okay, or they won't be able to read it. Okay, so again, have some fun with the fonts and choose, well, like this would not be a great font for grade ones. Okay, so try to choose a font. This is actually the font I've got here is not really that great for grade ones either. If you're doing grade ones or twos or kindergartens, that kind of idea, you are going to want to go with a pretty basic font. Okay, I know that kind of takes away from the sort of prettiness factor, but you've got to be considerate of the people who are reading it. Okay. And then, of course, the other consideration then here is, okay, so I'm going to put it over there, and maybe I'm going to add an image in here, right? And I don't know what, I'm just going to do a search for digital literacy was the first one, literacy. And then I'll just see what images come up. I'm just going to go clip art up here. Maybe something like that. Okay, I don't know. You can decide. Yeah, that's kind of a cute one. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm just going to paste it in. Now it'll probably come in really big. That's okay. I can just resize it. So remember, also we can resize it. We can also crop it. Right? There's a lot of kind of extraneous stuff around the girl in the desk here. So if you double click an image, it gives you an extra set of handles to grab. The black ones are what you're interested in. And we can just drag that up a little bit, move it over a little bit. I could use the corners, but I'm just showing you that you can grab all those different sides, right? All that stuff. We don't need all that extra stuff. And then once you've got it cropped the way you want it, just hit enter or return. And it keeps your image, it crops all that extra junk off there. And then, of course, then I can make it nice and small if I want to throw an image in there. Okay, so remember, I've got this text box that I'm going to put more text in. And don't forget, also, don't forget, remember, people like numbering, right? So we can, I don't want you to do that. We can number it. If you want to use a fancy number or a fancier font or something here, you can do that as well. And then, of course, I got to sort of then decide from here, how am I going to do my S pattern, right? And again, if you're like, man, I don't know, just right here, digital citizenship infographics. Right? And there's my image search. Look at, there are just oodles of them. And you can decide how you want to lay it out. Look at this person. They did it like that, right? Kind of idea, right? I mean, this doesn't have the 9 categories that we were talking about, but you certainly could use that general idea, right? And that's super, there's a lot going on there. I mean, so there's lots of different layout patterns that you can do. Now, with that tiny little bit, there's really not much more I can teach you on here. You should know all of these skills already, but do you have any questions about the assignment from here, this point? Everybody's good. Okay. The other thing that's come up in the other 2 classes is, and I'll just make this a little bit smaller again, is even at 11 by 17, people are saying, Brad, I don't have enough room. So here's the deal. Because it's, for our purposes, we're not going to print it out. But in the real world, you'd want to print this out and probably put it up in your classroom or something like that. So what we're going to do, if you need to, I'll let you kind of fudge the numbers a little bit. Okay. So if you need a little bit, right, longer, let's say I wanted it to be, maybe I need, I don't know, a couple more inches, let's say, let's make it an even 20. Okay. Then it will give me a little bit more real estate. Okay. So if you need to, you can adjust your numbers a little bit. Okay. We're not printing real highway billboards here. So, you can play around with the numbers to make it either a little bit longer or a little bit wider if you need to. Okay. But like I said, I've given you a pretty big leeway to do whatever you want. So just be mindful of fonts and sizes and things like that. And try to get it on an 11 by 17 sheet. Yeah, sure. Absolutely, Felicity. What a great idea. Use a QR code to give more information or guide people somewhere else, for sure. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Okay. So, I mean, I really didn't do much, but I mean, I don't want to walk you through the whole thing when you have all the same information that I have and you can do that. As probably as well as I can, if not better. I'm actually looking really forward to seeing what you all come up with. Okay. All right. Last kick at the cat here for questions about the digital citizenship infographic. Everybody's good? Okay. Let's just look at Classroom for a second, because this assignment is due on the 11th, which is Friday. Okay. So, I'll leave that with you to figure that out between now and Friday. Okay. You know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll extend that deadline. Hold on for a sec. Let me extend this deadline to, when do we meet on the 5th? Okay, I'll extend it to the 15th. That'll give you a little bit more time to work on it. Okay. So that will adjust in your calendars and in your stuff. So it gives you a little bit more time. Who's this person who turned it in already? Abigail, nice work. Okay. You've named it as an untitled drawing. You're going to lose marks for that, Abby. So unsubmit it and change the name of that to Digital Citizenship Infographic. Okay. All right. Okay. Everybody's good? Okay. Let's just go back to our little agenda here. So we did cover that. QR codes. All right, they're on the quiz. So here's a couple things we need to know about QR codes for the future. Okay. So let's just do this quickly as notes. We've got about like 3 things to write down. That's all. QR codes. Okay. So with QR codes, obviously the first thing that you know right now is that they came to us via the Japanese automotive industry. So they have their beginnings. They began, I guess, in the Japanese auto industry. Japanese auto industry. Right? And they sort of began there. And if you think about how cars are made in an assembly line kind of idea, where parts of the car are traveling down the assembly line, or they're being sorted, those QR codes would get scanned by a camera, and they can keep track of where the car is at as far as getting assembled. and parts and all of that kind of stuff. So, prior to, let's say 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, let's go 3 with COVID. When I asked in class, what's a QR code? A lot of people didn't know. But then when I said, okay, well, here's what they look like, and they're like, oh yeah, you find that on your bag of chips or on your can of Diet Coke or whatever. There's a QR code on there, right? They're all over. And since COVID, they are now all over, right? I mean, at the beginnings of COVID and when we could still kind of dine in at a restaurant, there were no physical menus to hold on to. You'd scan the table or a QR code and it'd bring up the menu on your phone or whatever. So, and then of course, QR codes for our vaccine, stuff like that, right? So QR codes are everywhere, and QR codes have been around for a long time. In the Japanese industry, I think it was the early 80s that they started popping up. So they've been around for a really long time, and they've just sort of hit the mainstream population now, right? Is where we use them all over the place. And as an educator, you can use them on worksheets, activities. You could use it at stations, right? You have kids that are going to work at different stations. What you could do is have them, the instructions of what they're supposed to do at this table. They could scan it and they would know what they're supposed to do. The other place that I really find that they're really popping up now is, some of you might be familiar with orienteering, okay? And if you're not, orienteering is quite literally people, if it's in a school, kids running around in a natural wooded area, like, let's say, for example, I'm going to use Heritage Ranch because you can see QR codes down there often. And they run around with a map, and they're trying to literally go from kind of point A to point B, but they have to collect all these codes. And then the people who, like, the winner, I guess, is a person who's collected all the codes in the fastest amount of time. So old orienteering, I'll call them like clues, I guess, used to look like this. And on one side, they were typically like orange or maybe red, and on the other side they were just white. So and then they would have a number on it as well. And so as kids are following this map, they would write down, I don't know, like AF7 was the thing, and then they would go to the next one, and on the map they would have to gather all of these numbers as fast as they can, and again, they'd be run through the bush and all over the place to collect these in the fastest amount of time. Nowadays, they use QR codes, right? You can still see these. You can still see these ones. I see them often in natural wooded areas, but now they use QR codes, so they're using their phone or whatever device to scan it, get a clue or whatever, and move on. And so the other way that you can use them with that is you can use them in like quests, or like a scavenger hunt or something like that, where they scan the QR code. There's some text that comes up on their phone with the next clue, and then they go find the next clue. Oh, there's another QR code. They scan that, and so they can use it like for a treasure hunt or something like that. And then, of course, like Felicity was suggesting on the digital citizenship infographic, you could use QR code on there as well. I mean, as a matter of fact, you could use a QR code. Where is that again? You could use a QR code for every single one of these and give students more information if they wanted, right? So you could give them some basic information, and then you could have a QR code that takes them to more information or something like that, right? So there's really, honestly, I think you're probably only restricted on how you use them by your own imagination. Okay, so so those are kind of the areas that they're used in K-12 is in orienteering, on like treasure hunt kind of things, and you can use them like on activities or stations, right? All of you people who want to be phys ed teachers, right? You could use them in the gym, or in the weight room or something like that, where they could scan a weight room machine, and they go, okay, at this one we have to do 3 sets of 10, and at your 75% of your maximum weight or something like that. Or it could guide them to a video how to properly do, I don't know, curls or bench press or something like that. So all kinds of different things. Or if you're in the gym and they're shooting hoops, you could have different stations for them to practice different skills with instructions and video, whatever. So there's lots of different ways that you could use QR codes in a school. Okay. Call Jim, is that for yeah, perfect. There you go, Tyler. So there you go. So yeah, so lots of different uses. And that's all I'm going to say about QR codes. Okay. All right. Let's go back to our thingamabobber here. All right. So we are then, let's just go back here. So we're done that. All right. We need to talk about, how's our time? Oh man, we're not going to have time for this. Okay. So we'll have to move that to Friday. All right. But I am going to talk about, hold on one sec. We'll talk about teacher etiquette. Kelly, go ahead.
I was just wondering, are we going to do the QR code in class today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Okay. Open up a brand spanking new tab, and in your search bar, type in QR code. Actually, if you don't even have to do that, I'll just do it for you. I'll send you the link in the chat. We're going to use this one. Thanks for reminding me on that. So click that link in the chat, and it'll bring you to this website. Okay, this is one option. But I find this one's pretty easy, and it gives you on this website. It gives you, to me, like several examples of how you could use a QR code. Right? Obviously, you could just scan a URL and take you to a website. V cards are like digital business cards. Right. So think of yourself as, let's say somebody's selling real estate, right? On their business card, there could be a QR code you scan, and it takes you to a website of all the properties they're selling or something like that. Or it's in a brochure or a trifold, something or other, and you can scan it and it'll take you somewhere else or show you other things. So a V card is just like basically a digital business card. Okay. Text is actually the one we're going to use. Easy peasy. And then you can see all the rest of the ones you can use here. Okay. So let's click on text. And then it'll give you, so when you click on this one, it'll just say enter your text down below here. And then as we enter our text into this box, I want you to notice over here how this QR code changes. Right now, the pixels are fairly big and far apart. But the more information that you put in it, the more kind of dense it becomes. There's a lot more pixels in there, and the pixels become smaller. So first thing in, just type your first and last name in there. Okay. You can see now that there isn't a huge change, but I can definitely see that there's a few more pixels and stuff in there. Okay, just hit enter, and then here's all we're going to do. We're just going to go favorite color. Favorite food. Okay. So now you can see that there's quite a few more pixels right here. And let's go favorite place, like holiday place or something like that. And we'll go favorite activity, like hobby or something like that. Activity. So now if you look at your QR code, you can see that those pixels are getting much, much, much smaller. Okay, now let's do an experiment. You're gonna have to grab your phone. If you don't have your phone with you right now, that's okay. And what I'd like you to do is put your camera on there and put over the QR code. And I've got an iPhone, so in my little kind of yellow, orangey, what is that? Like, I don't know, oval? What shape is that? Doesn't matter what shape it is. It has all that stuff. It says Brad McDermott, favorite color, favorite food, favorite place, favorite activity. Does yours say that? My Wi-Fi is cutting me out of the call. Are we copying exactly what you're typing right now? Okay, so if you put your phone up there and it gives you that little kind of yellowish box or whatever shape that is, and it's got that information in there, you are ready for the next step. Is everybody okay, or does anybody need help? Jenica, yes, you need help, or what? Okay, all right. Okay, so next step is, now this is really weird. It says download your JPEG. It's not a JPEG in the end, it's a PNG file, which is still an image file, it's fine. What we're gonna do now, if you've got that information in there, right? Your name, favorite color, favorite food, favorite place, favorite activity, you can click this green button here that says download. Now what's gonna happen up, don't do anything else. Up here, it is generating your QR code. So just sit tight for a minute, and then you'll notice that it's going to download it eventually right here. Okay. And it's going to be called frame.png. Okay. You can leave that name. It really doesn't matter to me. Okay. And what you're going to need to do, this is actually probably this next step is usually the one that ends up being the hardest one, is you need to find it. Is it in your downloads? Is it in your documents? I have mine set up so it saves everything to the desktop, so it's easy to find. And then on this one, again, if I scan it with my camera app, it should give me the same information, name, color, all that jazz. Okay. Now, with this file, then what you're going to do is you're going to submit this file. So when you go to Google Classroom, I'm in my teacher account, but you'll have to just kind of get the general idea here, is when you go to submit it, you're just going to submit, you're going to use the paper clip, and you're going to attach it and bring it in from your thing. And it looks like lots of you are rocking and rolling on that. Let me just scan a couple of these here. Make sure we're all good. Come on, you can do it. All right, Miss Jenica, you got pink, pasta, and Nanaimo. I like it. Okay. All right, let's just do one other one here. I just want to just double check here. I'll go Tyler. Oh, you got your email address, and that's okay. If you've got your email address, you can put, I don't actually, you know what? I really don't care what you put in there, as long as you've got a QR code and I can scan it and it works. Okay. So really the moral of the story at the end of the day is, do you know how to make a QR code and add information into there? And I see a couple of you have used other color. So you can use colors. There's different, you can add shapes in the middle of them. There's loads and loads of things that you can do, okay, to play around with it. And it just depends on your QR code generator. I actually have, I think I do, unless I deleted it in my app somewhere in here. I am pretty sure on this my Mac. Let's see, just all right here. I have actually a QR code app that will make QR codes for me, so I don't even have to go online if I don't want to. Okay, all right. I can see some people are doing that. We'll just let you all do your thing there. You just need to submit it just as fast as you can here. And you know what? With that said, I think that we're not going to do anything else because we really don't have time for anything else. But make sure you do the QR code readings. And then what we're really super duper interested in here is the next stuff. So next day, which is for us is Friday, we are going to do Google Classroom as a teacher. So you are going to set up Google Classroom as a teacher. So you're all experienced as students in Google Classroom and you know how to use it from the student end. But what's really important is for you as an up and coming educator and in a K-12 teacher is, okay, I got my own classroom now. I got all this curriculum I need to do. How do I get that into Google Classroom? Right? And how do I use this with my students and all that jazz? So that's what we're going to do. You are going to create your own Google Classroom as the teacher. You're going to make up your own assignments, your own quizzes and all that jazz, just like you know we have in our class here. You're going to set up the headings and the topics and all that jazz. And in the end, you're going to have a Google Classroom that you can use in your, with your ePortfolio. It also satisfies some TQS competencies and all those kinds of things. But that will take most of the class on Friday. So in between now and Friday, there's lots of things for us for you to work on. We also will talk about teacher etiquette on Friday as well, because we did not get that done either, and that's okay. It's all good. We'll do that on Friday as well. And then so we'll do those two things. Teacher etiquette will take 10 minutes, maybe 15 at the max. And then we'll work on that. So make sure you do the Google Classroom readings. It looks like there's lots of things to read here, right? But at the end of the day, it's going to take you maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. Brittany, are you okay with your question there? Yeah, okay. I think I get your question. The answer to your question is yes. Okay. All right. Let's call it a wrap then. So if you want to stick around, you can stick around and ask questions or whatever you need from me. And if you're good to go, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you on Friday. Thanks, everybody. It's always my pleasure. Kelly, go ahead.
Could you just look to make sure that my QR code went in properly? It kind of glitched, and I want it to be right.
Sure.
Thank you.
Where are you?
Yep. Oh, there I am.
Yeah, there you are. Favorite color is blue. Favorite food is sushi, Mexico, and dancing.
Yep, perfect.
All right.
And then my other question is, would it be all right if I wrote my test, or would you prefer me to do it at another date?
Yep, you can write right now. I'll stick around, but I have I have another meeting at 10:45, but you start it now and see how much time you need. And if you need more time, that's totally cool. I will just meet with a student in another Google Meet.
Are you sure? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all
Okay,
good.
I will do that. And I can use the link that's in my email?
Yep, should still work. Let me just make sure that I didn't do anything wacky on my end here.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be good.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Just give me a holler if you have any questions or need any help.
I will. Thank you.
Miss Oksana, go for it.
Yeah, me again. So you said that it doesn't matter what we're gonna put in our QR code, is that correct?
Yeah, not really.
So not necessarily all these questions that people are answering there?
I don't know, you can put whatever you want. Just keep it
Okay.
clean.
Okay, another question, tech philosophy, is that gonna be marked soon?
Yeah, I'm marking it today. Today you are on my top of my priority marking list today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And quizzes, I'll take a look how much of what portion of the total grade it takes. But can you remind me, please, right now?
Like each quiz is around 5%.
Oh, 5%. Okay.
Yeah.
And okay. Yeah, I got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Okay,
All right.
bye.
Yeah, oh, you're welcome. Bye-bye. Felicity, I had a question. So first part of that is, yeah, go ahead and register. For whatever reason, they just don't know who's going to teach it right now. Okay. And then I will check your QR code as well. Favorite color is orange. Nice choice. Chicken, Vancouver Island, bike riding. Like it. So you're good to go. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right, Kelly, we are together here. I just don't know where that other meeting is going to be. I'm just going to turn my mic off, but the camera will be on, okay?
No worries. Thank you.